Our first pitch is coming for the afternoon session is coming from Dr. Andreas Moshevos' lab. xCELLeration is a perfect example of taking neuroscience and microchip design coming together to solve a pretty big problem in the world of data. So I am pleased to introduce xCELLeration.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Hassan. My name is Eugene Shah, and I'm a co-founder of xCELLeration. We're a neurotechnology company bringing instantaneous brain decoding to market. So what if we knew how the brain was coded, down to the level of an individual neuron? With improved decoding comes better brain analytics to predict what the brain is going to do. This can offer key insights into the effects of therapeutics, which enables the development of improved pharmaceutical treatments. It also opens up avenues for the development of advanced brain-machine interfaces, or BMIs, including brain-controlled computers and robotic limbs. Our goal is to improve both by providing efficient fine-grained analysis of brain activity. So the problem is that each human brain is immensely complex, with over 86 billion neurons and trillions of connections. A neuroscientist can analyze roughly 30 neurons by hand every day. When trying to decipher recordings of brain data, this analysis becomes a significant bottleneck. The end result is that patients that need treatments for conditions like epilepsy, pain, and mobility have to wait. And that's where xCELLeration comes in. Our goal is to remove these bottlenecks through a combination of efficient hardware and software computing methods. So the existing bottleneck in analysis is due to two factors: the immense quantities of recorded data and the complexity of the algorithms used in analysis. Our unique position as experts in computer architecture enables us to improve performance on existing software solutions, as well as designing bespoke hardware to accelerate these intensive workloads. What we can do is eliminate this bottleneck by mapping these algorithms to powerful commodity hardware, such as GPUs that are currently available in the cloud, or an on-premise solution with custom ASICs. The cloud offering simplifies analysis for customers by providing them with results quickly and without the hassle of setting up their own software or even knowing how to program entirely. In conjunction with the cloud, our custom hardware can process data on-premise or on the body of a patient. And in the case of BMIs, the hardware needs to be fast, small, energy efficient to be portable and effective. As a team, our ability to improve computing solutions and make computer architectures specifically for neuroscience is the advantage our company has over conventional computing methods. Here, we have a sampling of fundamental analyses we'll be implementing into the cloud. We're targeting cloud services first, as we can begin generating revenue in tandem with the development of the hardware. Having early adopters of the cloud service will garner feedback to refine the product and also provide valuable insights on our hardware design cycle. This approach allows us to organically develop an analytics stack and user interface, and then seamlessly integrate the analysis software into any BMI system. Our business model for the cloud and BMI solutions are as follows. As I mentioned before, we'll first build a suite of efficient data analytics as a cloud service. We're modeling the analytics after what our resident neuroscientist performs on a regular basis for existing clients. This enables neuroscience researchers and pharmaceutical companies to quickly analyze their experiment data rather than doing it by hand. The service can use existing revenue models for cloud computing, like a subscription fee and pricing based on the volume of data. We're anticipating that a comprehensive cloud package will generate revenues of upwards of $100,000 each. Our second offering packages the analytics we've built for the cloud into portable silicon chips for real-time interfacing. For example, we can use brain analytics to control robotic limbs, or to directly stimulate and silence regions of the brain to treat epilepsy. By reducing a hardware solution, we also expect to capture a large share of value in BMI units, which can cost up to $100,000 each. First, we plan on engaging with research institutions to garner feedback on our cloud service. This helps us get our feet wet in interacting with customers and refining the cloud service. Our next targets would be companies such as BlackRock Microsystems, who specialize in BMI technologies, and contract research organizations, or CROs, like Psychogenics. The current US market for CROs and neuromodulation medical devices totals roughly $25 billion. We'll also be offering our cloud analytics to pharmaceutical companies like Neuron and Janssen, as traditional drug discovery techniques are seeing a continual decline in effectiveness. Neuroanalysis techniques are seeing growing investments to counteract this decline, and we expect to capture a share of the $125 billion market targeted at central nervous system drugs. In the long term, we're aiming to develop an FDA-approved BMI for specific ailments, where the market is forecast to grow to $3.7 billion by 2027. In terms of our potential competitors, we have Neurocast in the cloud space. Their offering is managed by academics from Columbia University. Our platforms would be similar, but the intention and audience greatly differs. They're an open source platform targeting academia with an emphasis on reproducing results in neuroscience research, while we're focusing on commercial applications and clients with an emphasis on speed and usability. Our advantages are our ability to enhance computing performance, having ample user support, and then providing full end-to-end solutions. For BMIs, our biggest competitors are Neuralink and Paradromics. An obvious advantage that we have is that neither competitors process data locally on the chip. They require wireless transmission to the cloud for processing, while we're able to bypass both bandwidth and connection constraints. For example, say there's a commuter on the subway about to experience an epileptic seizure. We can process the data immediately, while for our competitors, the patient has to resurface and be in a connected zone to process the data. As well, Neuralink's offering analyzes up to 3,000 neurons, while our custom ASIC can currently analyze upwards of 30,000 at once. As for Paradromics, they might actually be a potential customer rather than a competitor, as they don't have an automated analysis pipeline, and their offerings are focused more on data acquisition rather than processing. So as I mentioned before, our initial offering is a patent-pending custom ASIC, which has been vetted by our peers in computer architecture and published in academia. Our ASIC is a scalable, low latency, and high throughput solution that can compute data at more than an order of magnitude than currently recorded. And at this time, we're undergoing tape out of the chip for physical validation. As part of our publication, we compared our custom ASIC, Noema, to commodity hardware platforms shown in blue, and our initial baseline design in yellow. The results are shown for a test case of matching patterns amongst 30,000 neurons, which we've demonstrated performs very poorly on CPUs and can be optimized for GPUs in the cloud. For our hardware designs, they both meet real-time BMI constraints, but we demonstrate that Noema, our custom ASIC, far exceeds the real-time constraints, and as shown on the right here, has large reductions in both power and area costs over the initial baseline design. And here we have the founding team. Starting from the left, we have Andreas Moshevos, a professor of computer engineering at U of T, who specializes in computer architecture. We then have Amir Abdelhadi, a postdoctoral fellow with many years of experience in the semiconductor industry. He specializes in hardware acceleration. Myself, Eugene Shah, I'm a master's candidate at U of T focusing on software engineering. We then have Kieran Bannon, who is a master's candidate as well, with expertise in machine learning. And finally, we have Hendrik Steenlen, our resident neuroscientist with decades of experience, who is the current owner of Neurotech Incorporated. We're looking for $2 million in seed funding to accomplish several milestones. On the technical side, we aim to have the initial release of our cloud service before the end of the first year, and to release our chip in the second year while continuing to build out other analytics and IPs. Our business milestones are to generate revenues from our initial cloud customers, and then to gather larger contracts from CROs, BMI, and pharmaceutical companies. We'll also be hiring personnel to grow our team and quickly develop new solutions. To summarize, we're xCELLeration. We're providing state-of-the-art technology to progress pharmaceutical treatments of the nervous system. We'll produce a series of FDA-approved devices for brain-machine interfaces and analytics, and ultimately we'll be able to improve the day-to-day life of people living with chronic pain, epilepsy, and other neurological ailments. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention, and I'll end this with my contact information. We'll also be in the breakout room for the next few hours.
Thank you, Eugene. First question for you is, what are your technical milestones for the first year?
So for our technical milestones, we're really focusing on getting our cloud platform launched with a suite of fundamental analyses that is regularly used in neuroscience.
Okay. How strong is your technology moat or IP protection? Are there risks of this being copied by competitors?
So, in terms of the cloud offering, it'd be very difficult, I think, to find appropriate talent to both understand the needs and use cases of neuroscience and then have the expertise to accelerate this workload. As for the hardware, it's currently patent pending, and there's great difficulty in inherently producing hardware designs. By integrating both this cloud and hardware together, we get it would be very difficult to copy the two-pronged approach.
Okay. If you got more than $2 million in investment, what would you do with the additional money?
So, given more than our initial funding request, we'll be able to scale out much faster. We're going to compress our time to market and provide more analyses that are regularly used. Many of these can be worked on in parallel.
Now, you mentioned a really interesting use case on your presentation where you talked about detecting epilepsy in real time. What type of sensor would the patient or the individual have to keep on them in order for this data to be transmitted to your cloud service?
So, in terms of epilepsy detection, there's, I guess, different types of invasive or non-invasive technologies. But what we've built so far is not for data acquisition, but rather for quickly processing this data. So it could actually be integrated into any system currently that can record this data and on the body of the patient, process it in real time so that you can feed back into a loop.
Got it. Another question that came to the chat: what makes neuron discovery the ideal application of this hardware?
That's a good question. I think this I'll have to answer for our neuroscientists in this case, but understanding I guess, the low-level neurons will give us a larger understanding of kind of the functional portions and the circuitry in the brain. And I think if you can identify on a neuron level, which is very fine-grained, but if you can decipher exactly what's happening in between these connections, you have a greater, I guess, resolution of the brain overall. You can understand the specific portion is mapping to this specific action.
Awesome. That was a rapid fire question and answer. I don't see anything else popping up. We'll just give it a couple more seconds. And if not, thank you very much, Eugene, for this presentation. That was excellent.